أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. I'm very happy to receive a short verbal report about your activities in the past, and I have an impression that you are slightly off the mark as far as my initial plan was concerned. I did not have in mind a shorter group of preachers alone. What I had in mind was, I think you can spare yourself the notes because it's already recorded, yes. What I had in mind was to have a larger organization in which all the African countries were represented, and the association would comprise all the Ahmadi members from African countries. As such, the name is not at all truly depictive of your character. So I would much rather have a name like Pan-African Ahmadiyya Muslim Association UK. So that should be a much larger association. Secondly, if you call it a preachers association, the picture which is created is rather bizarre. People would conceive a completely different idea from what you are actually. In Ahmadiyya, that is true Islam, the personality of a person as an Ahmadi Muslim is not cannot be separated from his personality as a preacher. So when you call him an Ahmadi Muslim, the word preacher is automatically included in that, and you just can't separate the two. This is what I have been trying to make the Jamaat understand during the last some years in my khutbahs, that Dawat ilallah is not an option. This is the first most important duty, the foremost duty of a Muslim, because this is the foremost duty of Hazrat sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So if you are a true devoted servant of Hazur Akram sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then whatever is his foremost duty, that is your foremost duty. And the Holy Quran addresses him as such, that if you do not deliver your message, then you have not fulfilled the responsibilities as a prophet. Such a stern warning is given to someone who is completely devoted to the task of sending the message abroad. Now, that indicates that this address is not in fact directly to Muhammad, but through him it is directed at the followers, because there was no way that his dedication could be improved. Before this injunction in the Holy Quran, he was as much dedicated to the preaching as after this injunction. So we don't see any difference. That shows that sometimes the leader is admonished, but the lesser people as followers are indeed kept in mind, so that they get the message through him. So Dawat ilallah and being an Ahmadi Muslim are not two different identities. So as such, when you declare yourself to be Pan-African Ahmadiyya Muslim Association, then automatically your character of Dawat ilallah, Da'i ilallah, callers towards Allah, would be connotated in this title. Secondly, the purposes which I had in mind were twofold. Number one, to retrieve the lost lions of Hazrat Masih Maud ﷺ. I said because he belonged to Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam, so the term lost sheep is not adequate, is not appropriate regarding his followers. So we better call them lost lions. Those are the Ahmadis who should be like lions, who live a life of lions. They are most unfortunately for themselves lost to us because of the influences of the West. So they should all be traced and retrieved. And unless we have everybody enrolled into this association, no member missing whatsoever, we will not be satisfied. That is the one dedication with keeping in view, which you must keep in view and should not rest until this purpose is achieved. The second was to preach to the vast number of Africans representing various countries in UK, and those who come here occupy a special position in their own respective countries as well, because ordinary people can't afford to come over. Even those who come for the most ordinary menial jobs, they are more important comparatively to the people from there they have hailed. Because to have gathered enough money and have exerted enough influence to get passports and visas, etc., requires definitely some position in that society. Secondly, there are renegades, runaways, those who are not neither renegades nor runaways but persecuted community. So there are so many people who are very highly placed, who didn't come here seeking labor jobs, etc., but they had to leave their countries due to political oppression. So they are also very important people, because when they return, they would naturally make the future governments of that country, or at least will have a very sizable proportion in the future governments. So as again there are students and scholars belonging to various universities and so on and so forth. So there is a vast possibility of your attracting the top society of Africa here in a small area, all got together. In Africa, you have to hunt for them far and wide. It's a large continent, and you can't reach them in some cases at all. For instance, from Zimbabwe, from Congo, from the southern part of Africa, there's so many places, and also North Africa and the mid-north. There's so many countries or regions in Africa which are not accessible to us normally. So here they have sent out their, as Ahmad described, the pieces of their liver. You know, the very best of them have come, and they are exposed to us. And there's so many possibilities of working on them, you know, befriending them, winning them over completely, and so on and so forth. So it's a very ambitious plan which is not truly reflected in the report which I have just heard, because perhaps you were not given the true picture of what I had in mind. But from now on, that should be your object, and also include ladies. They can't be ignored because they are vulnerable to many foreign influences which are so destructive for the spirit and for the faith. So if you let your ladies be won over by the Western ideology or Western culture, then you lose your future generation. There are many families with young children like these two sitting before us. They are so fortunate to have a father who behaved so responsibly to bring them to the mosque along with him and get them directly attached to the Jamaat center. Now, one can say with the grace of Allah that they will not be lost, inshallah. But there are families living in East London, in other places, and sometimes close by, in Clapham, in Tooting, etc., which never pay a visit to the mosque, with the result that their children grow up completely estranged to Ahmadiyyat and dissociated from the Ahmadiyya values and so on. So there is a lot of work to be done. This can't be done with the meager resources which you have mentioned to have access to. There would be some among you who would be able to pay larger amounts, but then they pay this to the Jamaat as Chanda. This is a task of the whole Jamaat, and this can't be expected to be entrusted to you entirely as far as the financial responsibilities are concerned. The task expected of you is much bigger than your own financial resources of 2 points each per month, is it? Per month. And this 2 pounds each per month may put away some people. You know, it may scare some away, because those of you, or those who should be of you, but still don't belong to you, that is, they are Ahmadis, but they have not yet got connected with Ahmadiyyat properly, they would run away from the responsibilities, be they administrative responsibilities or financial responsibilities. They are not used to carrying this burden. So if you deliver the message to them to come to your association, bringing along 2 pounds at least, that would be something. So to begin with, you should be spending on them rather than expecting sacrifices from them. You can invite them to a dinner, to a cup of tea, and also you can go to them and say, if you don't have fare up to London Mosque, we'll pay for you. So in this way, they fall into the category of, what's the term? No. The Holy Quran is huh? No. On whom you spend. Mu'allafat al-Qulub. They fall into the category of Mu'allafat al-Qulub. That is to say, their hearts are not totally won over as yet, but they are in the process of being won over. So for those you have to spend out of your own resources if possible, and this should not be made optional. Anybody who can pay with pleasure, with a growing urge from within him, that money should be accepted whatever it is. But don't make anything binding on all members. As far as the finances are concerned, I'll see to it that you are provided for all your genuine activities by way of organizing the Ahmadiyya Association, as well as by way of preaching to others. Next in order is the preaching program. And when I say the next in order, it doesn't mean in order of time. In order in the sense that unless you are organized, you can't start preaching. But it should go simultaneously. Don't wait for full organization to develop before you start preaching. So you better start doing it now immediately. Then you have, if keeping this task in view and the vast areas which you would ultimately approach, this can't be done unless you organize yourself well, plan well, categorize the Africans and into various, not country-wise, because here they don't live country-wise. Organize them by way of keeping in view your accessibility to them. For instance, Ahmadis who live in various areas, they can be told that they should look after people living in that area. That's one way of organizing the African visitors to United States, to United Kingdom, or residents here. And the second is, go by categorizing them political appointments, the political representatives in various embassies, university students, and leaders who are asylum seekers here, and ordinary laborers who live in groups in certain areas. Because there are certain areas where you have concentration of certain people. Somewhere West Indians are found in large concentrations, maybe somewhere West Africans, Ghanaian, Nigerians, etc., they are found in large concentrations. So all this exploration has to be made first, then they have to be categorized, then you should get together and find out how you can approach them and what financial burden would be required to fulfill that, what resources would be required to meet this burden, and then plan as to how attractive you can make this program. One feature which has always paid well is to be made a constant feature of your program, that is inviting friends to the mosque and holding question answer sessions here over a cup of tea or dinner or whatever you have in mind. Invite various leaders of public opinion, student leaders and so on, or other friends of Ahmadis. They should be encouraged to ask any questions which may not directly be religious, on African issues and what Jamaat can do for this and that. So that will be a very good idea of enrolling them. And also responsibilities of Africans, the dangers they face in this different climate, and how can they defend their values, how can they live honorably and serve their country better. The problems at home and the problems here, and how the Africans living here can ease certain problems at home for their brethren, unfortunate brethren living in difficulties there. So all these aspects should be discussed openly there, so that it is that these sessions become more attractive to people of various tastes and various dispositions. And in that process also, religious questions will be asked, or leading questions can be put by you yourself, so that your brothers are given an opportunity to listen to things which they may not directly ask themselves. Or also, you can speak on behalf of certain friends of yours and say that some friends asked us this question, what is the answer to this and that. So it can be made a very interesting forum for the unification of Africans as such, and for the excitation of views concerning Africa, belonging to various fields of our interest, not only religious. So this is the general idea which I had in mind. So as such, you should start working, and also activate your ladies, and see to it that gradually at Jummah and other Jamaat functions, wherever it is possible, we find Africans much more in number than previously we have been seeing them. Last, I want you to utilize this opportunity of Jalsa Salana and offer your services for regular work of Jalsa Salana. We have many visitors from Africa, but it is not necessary that you should work for the Africans alone. In some cases, that will be profitable. In some others, it's not necessary. But your service to certain other delegates from different countries, faraway countries like Tuvalu and other like Russians and Polish, etc. These countries would definitely be influenced by the spirit of service shown by African Ahmadis during these conferences and their participation and so on. Even young boys like these, if they can get a few holidays, they can do a wonderful work, because these boys in Rabwa have been always in the forefront of service. African students have never been lagging behind in services. Particularly during Jalsa Salana, they have always played a very important, very forward role. So that should be done also here. And for instance, we have this particular year, we have 3 obeys from Nigeria visiting us for the first time. You know the term obey?
Yes, sir.
And what does it mean?
It's a paramount chief.
No, it's above that.
Above that,
it's like a king, small king, because an obey controls many paramount chiefs. So, once I mentioned in Juma that with the grace of Allah, an obey had become an Ahmadi. And the moment I heard of it, I sent him one of my rings, and told him not to preach to the ordinary people, but to obeys, people of his rank. With the grace of Allah, he was so excited at this message that within 2 to 3 months, he converted 2 more obeys. Very important and having influence over a large area. And they are all Hausa-speaking people. So that is a very important breakthrough in an area where we were always, considered insignificant among houses. And this first obey is so brave and so straightforward that he sought interview with the present president of Nigeria, and he was immediately granted. He held at least that much importance. And he said, "Why? What has brought you? What can I do for you?" He said, "Nothing. I have come to deliver to you the message of Ahmadiyyat. I have come to tell you the glad tidings that I have accepted Ahmadiyyat, and I want you to become an Ahmadi." So he tried to laugh it out. He said, "No, I'm very serious." He said, "Look here, we have already enough trouble on sectarian basis and this and that. Don't add to that." He said, "But this was my duty, so I have delivered my message." So those three obeys are coming here for Jalsa. So I want them to be given full honor. And if some of you should offer your services, particularly for those of you to attend them and to impress them, that would be a very good idea. Similarly, other guests, as I said, Chinese or Russians, if they come, I should love to have them served by Africans rather than any other nation, because they will be sensitive to the whites. They might think they are plants, they're agents or something, but they'll feel at one with you immediately. And this is a new Russian policy to win over the Africans. They know the importance of Africa very much now. So as such, it's a good opportunity. Also, you can work among the Arab friends who come from the non-Ahmadi Arabs particularly. So that also should be one of the objectives, to serve outstandingly during annual conferences. And what else was there? I think that is about it all. So let's now pray, and then I will depart. You can sit together for a while. And when you ultimately chalk out a regular substantive program, then you make your budget. And after that, in relation to your working plan, you can ask me for any financial aid which you need, and inshallah that will be provided. Right?